I was reviewing quarterly reports when my phone buzzed with a notification that would change everything. My wife had posted on Facebook, "Some husbands think they're irreplaceable." The post already had 12 likes and 3 laughing emojis within minutes. I stared at the screen, reading it again. This wasn't some random observation or sharing a meme. This was a direct shot aimed at me, posted while I was at work for all our friends and family to see. The same friends who would be joining us on our anniversary cruise next month. The same family members who had watched us exchange vows 7 years ago. I scrolled through the comments. Her sister had already chimed in with "Preach Girl," followed by clapping hands emojis. 2 of her coworkers had left supportive messages. Each notification felt like another slap across the face, delivered publicly and deliberately. What made it worse was the timing. We'd had a discussion the night before about household responsibilities. Nothing heated, nothing dramatic. I had simply mentioned that I handled most of the financial planning while she took care of social events. Apparently, that conversation had transformed overnight into ammunition for public humiliation. I leaned back in my office chair, processing what I was seeing. This wasn't the first time she'd made passive-aggressive comments, but posting something this direct on social media crossed a line. She was essentially telling the world that I was dispensable, replaceable, nothing special. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. I could have called her, confronted her privately, demanded an explanation. That's probably what she expected. A defensive reaction, maybe a heated argument that would give her more material for her next post. Instead, I typed 4 words. "You're absolutely right." I hit post and immediately put my phone away. Let her and her cheerleading squad figure out what that meant. Within 30 seconds, my phone started buzzing with notifications, but I ignored them completely. The rest of my workday took on a different quality. Every email I sent, every meeting I attended, every decision I made felt sharper, more focused. By the time I left the office, I had already made my first major decision. I drove straight to the bank instead of heading home. Our joint savings account showed the balance I expected, $8,000 earmarked for the anniversary cruise we'd been planning for months. The cruise she was so excited about, the one she'd been posting countdown updates for on her Instagram stories. "I'd like to transfer this amount to my personal checking account," I told the teller, sliding the withdrawal slip across the counter. "Will your spouse need to authorize this transfer?" she asked, glancing at the joint account information. "No authorization needed. Both names are on the account with full access rights." 20 minutes later, the money was moved. I sat in my car afterward, looking at my phone. 17 notifications from her post, but I didn't open a single one. Instead, I pulled up Google and started researching something I'd been considering for months, but never had the excuse to pursue. The Chevrolet dealership was still open when I arrived. The Camaro SS I'd been admiring during my lunch break sat in the front row, midnight black with silver racing stripes. The same car I'd mentioned wanting when we first got married, back when she used to laugh and say someday when we're rich. The salesman approached with the enthusiasm of someone who'd been waiting for a serious buyer all day. I'd done my research months ago during those lunch breaks, so I knew exactly what I wanted and what it would cost. "That's a beautiful machine," he said, patting the hood. "You want to take it for a test drive?" "Actually, I want to buy it. Tonight." His eyebrows shot up. "Tonight? Well, that's what I like to hear. Do you have financing in place or cash down payment? I can have the rest financed through my credit union by tomorrow morning." An hour and a half later, I was signing papers. The down payment was exactly 75% of our cruise money. The remaining balance would be covered by financing, but at my credit score, the monthly payment was manageable even on my income alone. I drove the Camaro home slowly, savoring the rumble of the engine and the feel of the steering wheel in my hands. This wasn't about the car itself. This was about making a statement as clear and direct as her Facebook post. When I pulled into our driveway, she was standing at the living room window. I could see her silhouette against the lamplight, and I knew she'd been watching for my usual sedan. Instead, she was seeing something completely different. I parked the Camaro where my old car usually sat and took my time getting out. The engine noise had probably announced my arrival to half the neighborhood. Perfect. She met me at the front door before I could even reach for my keys. "Whose car is that?" she demanded. "Mine." "What do you mean yours? What happened to your car?" "Traded it in. Part of the down payment." She stared at me, then looked past me at the Camaro, then back at me again. "Down payment for what?" We didn't discuss buying a new car. We're saving for the cruise. I walked past her into the house, loosening my tie. Actually, we're not saving for the cruise anymore. I canceled it this afternoon. You what? Canceled the cruise. Got most of our deposit back, which covered the rest of the down payment. She followed me into the kitchen, her voice rising. You can't just cancel our anniversary cruise. I've been planning this for months. I already told everyone we're going. I opened the refrigerator and pulled out a beer. Not a light beer, not some trendy craft brew she'd picked up at Whole Foods, but a regular Budweiser. I cracked it open and took a long drink before responding. You told everyone a lot of things today, including the fact that husbands think they're irreplaceable. Well, you're absolutely right. Some husbands do think that. Turns out, some anniversary cruises think they're irreplaceable too. Her mouth opened and closed twice before she found her voice again. That post wasn't about you specifically. It was just a general observation, posted while I was at work, right after our conversation last night, with your sister and coworkers cheering you on in the comments. I took another sip of beer. Yeah, definitely not about me. She crossed her arms, switching tactics. So your solution is to make a major purchase without discussing it with me? That's mature. Mature. I repeated the word slowly, like I was tasting it. You know what's mature? Handling disagreements privately instead of posting passive-aggressive messages on social media for everyone we know to see and comment on. I finished my beer and set the empty bottle on the counter. The car is registered in my name, financed through my credit union, using money from our joint account that both of us had legal access to. Everything completely above board and transparent. Unlike some other recent activities. She stood there silent for a moment, and I could see her mind working, trying to figure out her next move. This wasn't going the way she'd expected. Her little Facebook drama was supposed to make me apologetic, defensive, eager to prove my worth. Instead, she was staring at a husband who'd just spent $8,000 on a sports car without blinking. We need to talk about this properly, she finally said. We are talking about it. Unless you meant we need to discuss it on Facebook, where everyone can weigh in with their opinions and emojis. I walked toward the hallway, then paused. By the way, I'm thinking of posting some pictures of the new car tomorrow. You know how social media works. People love commenting on posts. The next morning, I woke up before my alarm and found her side of the bed empty. She was already in the kitchen, nursing a cup of coffee and scrolling through her phone with the intensity of someone monitoring a crisis. Sleep well? I asked, pouring myself coffee from the pot she'd made. She looked up with dark circles under her eyes. People are asking questions about your comment yesterday. What kind of questions? They want to know what you meant by "you're absolutely right." Some of them think you were being sarcastic. I added cream to my coffee and stirred slowly. Were they wrong? She set her phone down harder than necessary. This isn't a game. My family is asking if we're having problems. Are we having problems? I asked, genuinely curious to hear her answer. We weren't until you decided to buy a sports car and cancel our vacation without discussing it with me. I finished my coffee and rinsed the mug in the sink. Funny, I thought our problems started when you decided to publicly announce that I'm replaceable without discussing it with me. Before she could respond, I grabbed my keys and headed for the garage. The Camaro started with a satisfying rumble that echoed off the walls. As I backed out, I could see her watching from the kitchen window again. The drive to work felt completely different. The car handled like it was designed for someone who knew exactly where they were going and how fast they wanted to get there. At red lights, I caught other drivers glancing over, and a few gave approving nods. During my lunch break, instead of eating at my desk like usual, I drove to a detailing shop downtown. The owner, a guy in his 50s with grease-stained hands and keen eyes, looked the Camaro over like he was appraising a piece of art. She's beautiful. You want the full treatment. Everything you've got. Paint protection, interior conditioning, the works. That'll run you about $400. Do it. While I waited, I walked to a men's clothing store I'd passed 100 times, but never entered. The kind of place that sold actual fitted shirts instead of the generic department store button-downs I usually wore. The salesperson, a sharp-dressed guy about my age, sized me up immediately. Looking for something specific? Work clothes that don't look like work clothes. 20 minutes later, I had 3 new shirts, 2 pairs of pants, and a leather jacket that cost more than I usually spent on clothes in 6 months. But when I looked in the fitting room mirror, I saw someone who owned a Camaro SS, not someone who apologized for wanting one. When I picked up the car, It looked like it had just rolled off the showroom floor. The black paint was so deep you could see your reflection perfectly, and the interior smelled like expensive leather conditioner. I drove back to work slowly, taking a route that passed several restaurants and shops where people I knew might spot me. At a red light, I pulled out my phone and took a quick selfie. Nothing dramatic, just me in the driver's seat wearing one of the new shirts, sunglasses on, looking like I belonged exactly where I was. I posted it on Instagram with a simple caption, "New Perspectives." Within minutes, the likes started rolling in. Coworkers, old friends from college, even some people I hadn't talked to in years. But the comments that caught my attention were from her friends. "Looking good. Is this your midlife crisis car?" From her college roommate. "Very nice ride. Does she know you bought this?" From her sister. And then the one that made me smile. "Are you single?" Asking for a friend, from one of her workout buddies. I didn't respond to any of them. I just let the post sit there, collecting reactions. That evening, I stopped at Target for some basic necessities and ran into our neighbor from 3 houses down. She'd always been friendly but professional in that suburban way where you wave from driveways and chat about weather. "Is that your car in the parking lot?" she asked, pushing her cart alongside mine. "The Camaro?" "Yeah, just picked it up yesterday." "It's gorgeous. I saw you pull out this morning and thought someone was visiting." She paused, seeming to consider her next words. "Going through any major life changes?" The question was innocent enough, but her tone suggested she'd seen the Facebook drama or heard about it through the neighborhood grapevine. "Just decided it was time to make some investments in myself." She nodded approvingly. "Good for you. Life's too short to drive boring cars." When I got home, the Camaro's arrival in the driveway caused the same stir as the night before. This time, our next-door neighbor was watering his lawn and gave me an enthusiastic thumbs up. "Sweet ride. What she got under the hood?" I spent 10 minutes talking horsepower and torque specs, two subjects I'd researched extensively during those lunch break fantasies. By the time we finished talking, I noticed curtains twitching in several windows along the street. Inside the house, she was sitting at the kitchen table with her laptop open and several printouts spread around her. "What's all this?" I asked. "Cruise information. I'm trying to figure out if we can rebook for later in the year. Maybe get a partial refund and apply it to a different package." I sat down across from her and looked at the papers. Tropical destinations, romantic dinners, couples activities. All the things we'd planned together back when we were planning things together. Why would we rebook? Because it's our anniversary cruise. We've been talking about it for months. You've been talking about it for months. I've been paying for it for months. She looked up from the laptop. "That's not fair. We both wanted this trip. Did we? Or did you want the trip and I wanted to make you happy?" The distinction seemed to hit her harder than I'd expected. She closed the laptop and leaned back in her chair. "I don't understand what's happening here. Yesterday, we were a normal married couple with some minor issues to work through. Today you're acting like I'm some kind of enemy." I pulled out my phone and showed her the Instagram post. 37 likes and counting, including several from your friends asking if I'm available. Her face flushed red as she read through the comments. "They're just being stupid. You know how people are on social media." "Yeah, I'm learning a lot about how people are on social media." She scrolled through the comments, her expression darkening with each one she read. "This is exactly what I'm talking about. You're posting pictures designed to get attention from other women." I posted a picture of myself in my new car. If other women find that attractive, that's not really my fault, is it? "You know exactly what you're doing." I leaned forward. "You're absolutely right. I know exactly what I'm doing. Just like you knew exactly what you were doing when you posted that husbands are replaceable." She set the phone down and rubbed her temples. "Can we please just have a normal conversation about this? Without all the social media drama and the passive-aggressive car purchases. This is normal. This is me treating our marriage exactly like you demonstrated it should be treated. Public, performative, and designed to get reactions from other people." I stood up and headed toward the stairs. "I'm going to shower. Try not to post anything about our conversation while I'm upstairs." By Friday, the Instagram post had exploded beyond anything I'd expected. 68 likes, 23 comments, and my phone was buzzing with direct messages from people I hadn't heard from in years. The most interesting development was watching her friend's behavior evolve in real time. What started as innocent questions had shifted into something more direct. Her workout buddy had followed up her original comment with a private message. "Seriously though, everything okay at home? You look really good lately." I screenshot the message and saved it, along with several others that had crossed similar lines. Not because I planned to use them as weapons, but because they perfectly illustrated the point I was making. At work, the attention was becoming impossible to ignore. The Camaro had its own following in the parking lot. People would walk by during breaks just to look at it, and I'd fielded a dozen conversations about performance specs, financing options, and where I'd bought it. My project manager, a straight-talking woman in her 40s, cornered me by the coffee machine Friday morning. Nice car. Going through a divorce. Why does everyone assume the car means divorce? Because married men don't usually drop $8,000 on sports cars without warning their wives first, unless they're planning to not be married much longer. I stirred my coffee thoughtfully. What if the wife publicly announced that husbands are replaceable? Oh, she nodded like puzzle pieces were clicking into place. So this is strategic, not impulsive. Everything I do is strategic. Good. Impulsive would be stupid. Strategic might actually work. That afternoon, I decided to test just how strategic I could be. Instead of eating lunch at my desk, I drove to the upscale shopping center where she and her friends usually met for their Friday afternoon coffee dates. I parked the Camaro right outside the Starbucks window where I could see her sitting with 3 other women. I didn't go inside. I just sat in the car, checking emails on my phone, letting them get a good look at the situation. Through the window, I could see the exact moment they noticed me. One of them pointed, and all 4 heads turned. Then came the animated discussion, with gestures toward the car and what appeared to be very intense conversation. My phone buzzed with a text from her. "What are you doing here?" I replied, "Getting coffee." "Is that allowed? You don't even drink Starbucks." "I'm expanding my horizons. Trying new things. You know how that goes." I waited another 5 minutes, long enough for her friends to get a complete view of the car and my apparent comfort with the situation, then drove to the Dunkin' across the street. Through their window, I could see the Starbucks table still engaged in what looked like crisis management discussions. When I got home that evening, she was waiting with the intensity of someone who'd spent all afternoon preparing for battle. "My friends think we're getting divorced." What gave them that impression? The car, the Instagram posts, the fact that you showed up at our coffee date like you were making some kind of statement. I loosened my tie and sat down across from her. What kind of statement would that be? That you don't care what I think. That you're already moving on. That you want other women to see you as available. Interesting theory. What do you think? She leaned forward, her voice rising. "I think you're trying to punish me for one stupid Facebook post that didn't mean anything. One post that currently has 43 comments from people we both know, most of them agreeing that husbands are indeed replaceable and sharing their own stories about disappointing marriages." Her face went pale. "You've been reading all the comments?" "Every single one. Fascinating stuff. Your college roommate shared 3 paragraphs about her ex-husband's failures. Your cousin added a story about how her boyfriend thinks he's God's gift to women. Your coworker from the dentist office contributed an entire essay about men who don't appreciate what they have." I pulled out my phone and scrolled to her original post. 43 comments, 87 reactions, and 12 shares. That's a lot of engagement for someone who claims it didn't mean anything. She sat back in her chair, deflated. "I didn't know it would blow up like that. But you knew it would get reactions. That was the point, wasn't it? To get public validation that I'm the problem in this marriage." "That's not what I wanted." "Then what did you want?" She was quiet for a long moment, staring at her hands. "I wanted you to care more. About us. About what I was feeling. So you decided to humiliate me publicly to get my attention? I didn't think you'd see it as humiliation. I thought you'd see it as a wake-up call." I set my phone on the table and leaned back. "Well, it definitely woke me up. Just not in the direction you were hoping for. The car thing is getting out of hand. People are talking. People were already talking. Now they're just talking about different things." My phone buzzed with another Instagram notification. The selfie from earlier in the week had picked up more comments overnight, including several from women I didn't recognize who'd found the post through mutual friends. "Look at this," I said, showing her the latest comment. "Someone named Jessica says I have excellent taste in cars and life choices. She's friends with your sister, apparently." She grabbed the phone to read the full comment thread. "These women don't even know you. They know enough. Successful guy, nice car, takes care of himself. That's more information than your Facebook post provided about me. This is insane. You're encouraging complete strangers to flirt with you online." "I'm not encouraging anything. I posted a picture of myself in my car. If women find that attractive, that says something about the car, the picture, or maybe both. She scrolled through more comments, her expression growing more frustrated with each one. Half of these women are asking if you're single. And what did you tell your friends when they asked the same question at coffee today? I told them we're working through some issues. Issues. I repeated the word slowly. That's an interesting way to describe your public announcement that I'm replaceable. She set the phone down and looked directly at me for the first time in the conversation. What do you want from me? An apology? Fine. I'm sorry I posted that. I'm sorry it hurt your feelings. Can we move past this now? My feelings aren't hurt. My expectations have just been recalibrated. What does that mean? It means I finally understand how you see this marriage, and I'm adjusting my behavior accordingly. She stared at me for a moment, then stood up abruptly. I'm going to bed. This conversation is going nowhere. That's fine. I have some more Instagram posts to work on anyway. She paused in the doorway. What kind of posts? The Camaro looks amazing in different lighting. I'm thinking about doing a whole series. Maybe some action shots this weekend. Action shots. Yeah, actually driving it. Maybe some scenic routes. The mountains have great backdrops this time of year. Her knuckles were white where she gripped the doorframe. Are you planning to drive up there alone? I haven't decided yet. What? Because people will think you're available if you keep posting pictures of yourself doing interesting things without me in them. I smiled for the first time all week. You're absolutely right. People might think exactly that. Saturday morning arrived with the kind of tension that makes even coffee taste different. She was already dressed and sitting at the kitchen table when I came downstairs, her laptop open and bank statements spread across the surface. We need to talk about money, she announced without looking up. Good morning to you too. I've been going through our accounts. The cruise cancellation, the car purchase, the $800 you spent on clothes and car detailing. She gestured at the papers like evidence in a trial. You've spent over $9,000 in 3 days without consulting me. I poured coffee and sat down across from her. I spent money from our joint account, which has both our names on it. Money I earned from my job. For purchases that are registered in my name. That's not the point. What is the point? The point is that married couples discuss major purchases. They don't just unilaterally decide to blow their vacation savings on a midlife crisis car. I took a sip of coffee and studied her face. The dark circles under her eyes had deepened, and there was a tightness around her mouth that suggested she'd been rehearsing this conversation. Midlife crisis, I repeated. That's interesting terminology. Is that your diagnosis? Or did you crowdsource that opinion from your Facebook friends? Don't deflect. We're talking about financial responsibility, are we? Because I thought we were talking about how you're upset that I made decisions without asking your permission first. She leaned forward, her voice taking on the patient tone she used when she thought I was being deliberately dense. I'm upset that you're acting like a teenager, throwing money around, posting pictures to get attention from other women, ignoring the consequences of your actions. Consequences. I set my mug down carefully. Let's talk about consequences. I pulled out my phone and navigated to her original Facebook post. This post has been shared 14 times now. 14 different people thought your observation about replaceable husbands was worth broadcasting to their own social networks. So what? So your sister shared it with a comment about how some men need to hear this. Your coworker shared it with 3 laughing emojis. Your college roommate shared it with her own paragraph about men who take their wives for granted. She crossed her arms. People agreed with me. That doesn't make it wrong. You're right. It doesn't make it wrong. It makes it public. It makes it permanent. It makes it a statement about our marriage that's now been seen by literally hundreds of people. I scrolled through the share notifications, reading names aloud. Friends of friends, distant relatives, people I work with who follow your sister. All of them now have access to your opinion that husbands like me think we're irreplaceable. You're being dramatic. Am I? Because I ran into my project manager's wife at the grocery store yesterday. She asked me how I was handling everything. When I asked what she meant, she mentioned seeing something online about marriage troubles. The color drained from her face. She saw the post. She saw one of the shares. From someone in her book club who's friends with your cousin. Oh God. Oh God is right. Because now I'm getting pitying looks from coworkers who think my wife is publicly complaining about me. I'm getting messages from women who think I'm available. And I'm having conversations about my marriage with people who shouldn't even know we're having problems. She buried her face in her hands. I didn't think it would spread like that. But you did think. You thought about how to word it for maximum impact. You thought about timing it while I was at work. You thought about which friends would respond with support. What you didn't think about was how it would affect me, or our marriage, or our reputation. I was frustrated. People post things when they're frustrated. People post things when they want attention. You got attention. Congratulations. I stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the Camaro sitting in our driveway. You want to talk about consequences? Here are the consequences. I bought a car that makes me happy instead of planning a vacation that makes you happy. I'm getting attention from women instead of apologizing for disappointing you. I'm making decisions based on what I want instead of what keeps you from posting complaints about me online. That's not what I want, isn't it? Because your actions say otherwise. She looked up at me with tears in her eyes, and I recognized the expression. This was the moment in previous arguments where I would have softened, where I would have sat back down and worked towards some kind of compromise that made her feel better. Instead, I finished my coffee. I don't want to be married to someone who solves problems by complaining about me on Facebook, I said calmly. It was one post. It was a public statement about how you see me and our marriage. One post that told everyone we know that I'm replaceable, that I think too highly of myself, that I don't meet your expectations as a husband. I rinsed my mug in the sink and turned to face her. So I decided to find out if you're right. Maybe I am replaceable. Maybe some other woman would appreciate having a husband who works hard, pays the bills, and buys sports cars instead of apologizing for wanting them. You're talking about divorce. I'm talking about reality. You opened this door when you decided to air our problems publicly. You don't get to control what walks through it. She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. I'll delete the post. It's been shared 14 times. Deleting it now won't unshare it. The damage is done. Then what do you want me to do? I grabbed my keys from the counter. I want you to understand that actions have consequences. Real consequences. Not Facebook consequences or Instagram consequences, but real-life consequences that affect real people in real marriages. Where are you going? For a drive. To think about whether I want to keep being married to someone who thinks I'm replaceable. Don't leave like this. We can work through this. I paused at the door leading to the garage. Can we? Because working through problems usually involves discussing them privately, not broadcasting them for public entertainment and validation. I said I was sorry. You said you were sorry it hurt my feelings. That's not the same thing as being sorry you did it. I opened the garage door and started the Camaro. As I backed out, I could see her standing at the kitchen window again. But this time her expression was different. This time she looked scared. I drove for 3 hours that Saturday, taking mountain roads I'd never explored before. The Camaro handled every curve perfectly, and for the first time in weeks, my mind felt clear. When I stopped for lunch at a roadside diner, I took another photo. Me at a scenic overlook, the car gleaming in the background, mountains stretching to the horizon. I posted it with the caption, "Sometimes you need new perspectives to see clearly." Within an hour, it had more engagement than any photo I'd ever posted. The comments ranged from admiring the scenery to asking about the car to more direct inquiries about my availability. One comment particularly caught my attention. Whoever she is, she's lucky to have someone who knows how to live life. I didn't correct the assumption. When I got home that evening, her mother's car was in the driveway. Through the living room window, I could see both of them sitting on the couch, deep in conversation. I parked the Camaro and took my time walking to the front door. They both looked up when I entered, their faces showing the exact expression of women who'd been discussing the situation for hours. "Hello, sweetheart," her mother said with the kind of forced cheerfulness that meant she was about to deliver an intervention. "Evening. How's everyone doing?" "We're concerned," her mother continued, "about this phase you're going through." Phase. The car, the social media posts, the sudden changes. It's very unlike you. I sat down in the chair across from them. "Unlike the me you're used to, maybe." "Honey," she said, jumping in. "I've been explaining to Mom that we're just having some communication issues. Nothing that can't be worked out with some counseling." "Counseling," I repeated. "That's your solution?" "It's a starting point. A way to get back to normal." Her mother nodded enthusiastically. "Marriage counseling saved my sister's marriage. Sometimes couples just need help remembering what they love about each other." I looked at both of them. These women who'd clearly spent hours developing this strategy. "What makes you think I want to get back to normal?" The question hung in the air for a moment. Her mother's forced smile faltered. Because that's what married people do, she said. They work through problems. Even when one person publicly announces that the other is replaceable. Her mother's face flushed. That post was taken out of context. By who? The 43 people who commented? The 14 who shared it? The hundreds who've seen it by now? Social media isn't real life, her mother said weakly. Tell that to my coworkers who've been asking if I'm okay. Tell that to the women who are messaging me because they think I'm available. Tell that to everyone in our social circle who now knows we're having marriage problems because your daughter decided to share them online. I stood up and walked to the mantel, looking at our wedding photos. 7 years ago, smiling and hopeful, surrounded by family and friends who believed we'd figured out how to make it work. You know what's interesting? I said, turning back to them. Not once in this conversation has anyone acknowledged that posting that message was wrong. It's been explained, justified, minimized, and blamed on frustration, but no one has said it was wrong to do. It was wrong, she said quietly. I know it was wrong. Do you? Because an hour ago you told your mother it was taken out of context. Last night you said it didn't mean anything. Wednesday you said I was being too sensitive. Her mother shifted uncomfortably. Everyone makes mistakes. Some mistakes are private. Some mistakes are public. Some mistakes reveal how someone really feels about their marriage. My phone buzzed with another Instagram notification. I glanced at it and saw that the mountain photo had crossed 50 likes. People are really responding to your posts, her mother observed, clearly having seen my phone screen. They are. Mostly women, she added pointedly. Mostly. That doesn't concern you? I looked directly at her. Should it? Your daughter posted that husbands think they're irreplaceable. These women seemed to disagree with that assessment. The room fell silent except for the tick of the wall clock. Finally, she spoke up. What do you want from me? I've apologized. I've offered counseling. I've admitted I was wrong. What else can I do? I don't know, I said honestly. But I know what you can't do. You can't unpost that message. You can't take back the public humiliation. You can't undo the damage to our reputation or our marriage. I headed toward the stairs. Maybe some things really are irreplaceable after all. Sunday morning, I woke up to find her mother gone and the house unusually quiet. She was in the kitchen again, but this time without her laptop, without bank statements, without any props for another confrontation. Just sitting with a cup of coffee, staring out the window. We need to make a decision, I said, pouring my own coffee. I know. Do you? Because for the past week, you've been treating this like a temporary problem that we can manage or fix or counsel our way through. She turned to look at me directly. What kind of decision? The kind that determines whether we're married to each other or just living in the same house. I want to stay married. To who? To the husband who apologizes for wanting things? To the guy who asks permission before making purchases with his own money? To someone who pretends your Facebook drama didn't happen? To you, the real you. I sat down across from her. This is the real me. The guy who bought a sports car, who posts pictures that get attention, who doesn't tolerate being disrespected publicly. If you wanted to stay married to someone else, you should have married someone else. You've changed. I've stopped pretending that making you happy is more important than respecting myself. She was quiet for a long moment, processing this. The Instagram posts, the car, showing up at my coffee date. You're trying to make me jealous. I'm trying to make you understand consequences. You posted that husbands are replaceable. I'm showing you what replacing me would actually look like. Other women flirting with you online. Other women appreciating what you take for granted. That's not fair. Fair. I pulled out my phone and showed her the mountain photo from yesterday. 67 likes, 28 comments. Most of them from women who think I'm attractive, successful, and worth their attention. Women who see value in a man who drives a nice car and knows how to enjoy life. I scrolled through the comments. Here's one from Jessica. Living your best life. Here's another from someone named Amanda. Gorgeous car, gorgeous view. And here's my favorite, from your workout buddy. Some women don't know how good they have it. Her face went pale. She said that. She said that. Along with asking if you and I were having problems, because apparently I look happier in photos than I have in months. I never meant for this to happen, but it did happen. And now you get to see what your husband looks like when he's not worried about disappointing you. I finished my coffee and set the mug aside. Here's what's going to happen. I'm keeping the car. I'm keeping the new clothes. I'm keeping the confidence that comes from knowing I don't need anyone's permission to live my life. And us. That depends on whether you can live with being married to someone who won't be taken for granted anymore. What does that mean practically? It means no more public complaints about our marriage. It means no more passive-aggressive social media posts designed to embarrass me. It means if you have a problem with me, you discuss it with me, not with the internet. Okay. It means I make decisions about my time, my money, and my interests without asking for approval. You get input, not veto power. That's not how marriage works. It's how this marriage is going to work. Or not work, if you prefer. She stared at me for a long time, and I could see her weighing her options. Stay married to a man who wouldn't be controlled, or start over with someone who might be more malleable. And if I can't accept those terms, then you were right. Some husbands are replaceable, and some wives are too. You'd really divorce me over a Facebook post? I'd divorce you over what that Facebook post revealed about how you see me and our marriage. The post was just the symptom. She sat back in her chair, the weight of the decision settling on her shoulders. I don't want a divorce. Then you don't want a divorce. But you also don't get the old version of me back. That guy was too worried about keeping you happy to notice that you weren't worried about keeping him happy. I stood up and grabbed my keys. I'm going for another drive. When I get back, you can let me know whether you want to be married to who I actually am, or whether you'd prefer to keep looking for someone replaceable. As I backed the Camaro out of the driveway, I saw her watching from the window one more time. But this time, I wasn't the one wondering what would happen next.